Good morning. Microphone check. Everything should be working. Welcome to my live stream. So today we are just going to start off by admitting I've made a mistake and it's okay. It's a little, okay, what was the mistake? How did I miss it? How did I make it? What's going on? Okay, when I sewed in the facing onto the lining, I didn't line everything up. Remember how I told you I start from the neckline or from the center down or out? So at the neck hole, I would sew my shoulder seam from the neckline to my shoulder or from my shoulder down, because I want everything to line up in the center front, top down kind of a thing, because it's easier to fix the problem on the hemline than it is to fix it in a neckline. Well, the reason I do that is because if you don't, sometimes it ends up being a little wonky. And when I was laying everything together, my puzzle pieces weren't quite fitting together. Why don't they quite fit together? Because the top got sewn a little wonky. Like, my hem was perfectly lined up, but the top, by the time all the everything was kind of pushed through the sewing machine, it was slightly off. And now if we look at this neckline, this side lays flat, this side will not. Because right up at the top of the neckline, it meets kind of in the seam allowance, so there's this extra bit of chunk of fabric, so it doesn't line up as prettily as I wanted it to. And so I have to rip all that out. And this lining fabric shreds, like the oh good, I have some scraps right there. But see all of these little fabric shreds right here? See all of this? This pulls off. And then I have a frayed, nasty edge. The good thing is this is a synthetic, so a lighter will just melt this and make it into a congealed blob of hardened plastic, which is amazing, but not going to help me in my current problem of I have to rip this out without shredding the fabric. If I do end up shredding the fabric, it's not the end of the world. I am privileged and lucky enough to have enough extra fabric. I do not want to use my extra fabric recutting out a piece I've already cut out. I would prefer to have extra fabric for a whole nother project, scraps and all. But worst case scenario, I will swallow my pride and recut it out. But for now, I am just going to try and rip it out as gently and nicely as I possibly can. And I could not find a single seam ripper of mine today because those things just seem to disappear. But I could find a whole bunch of X-Acto knives and sharp blades, so I'll be using those. So this morning should be fun. Nothing like starting out your project by ripping out your project. Undo the progress you've made. Good times. But after I get that ripped out and fixed and all sorted out, then we will be pressing everything, making it all pretty, and my goal by the end of today is to have a collar for this thing. I want to do a silk Peter Pan collar, and I'm kind of excited about it. Welcome, Dan Does Junk. Good morning. Thank you for being a great moderator and for being here. I hope you feel better. And the 45th clown. Ooh, good timing. Hello, all. Sounds good. Yes. Sounds working. Cameras are working. Well, I only have one camera today. I didn't bother trying to do my fancy setup. I'm starting today off with a mistake. And it's all good because I'll fix it and then it'll be gone and then I don't have to think about it anymore. Okay. this side. Lines up all the layers. Lines up, center back, lines up. All the way over here. Wait. My shoulder seams, I have 3 of them. These 2 line up and this one doesn't. Why doesn't this one line up? And why is there all this extra little flap of fabric that you guys can't even see because I only have one camera today? But this extra flap of fabric should not be here. This should be actually lined up perfectly to this edge. So this is where I'm going to start ripping out. I love this tool bag. It is like my favorite. I take it on set with me and it has the weirdest shit in it, but it's always things I need, like wood glue, a bag, lots of different types of tape, of course scissors, lipstick. Here we go. This is what I need. I can't find my seam rippers. I swore I have like at least 3 in this bag, but I don't. Lots of glue sticks. And look at this pear pen. Isn't it gorgeous? Anyways. Okay, seam rippers. I hardly use them anyways. Because I don't bother buying the expensive ones because a sharp seam ripper is way better than an expensive seam ripper that has a more comfortable handle, because that's what you're paying for when you're paying a premium for seam rippers, is the comfort of the handles. And if you have arthritic hands or mobility issues, I say go for it, but a sharp knife is less dangerous than a dull knife. So same thing with seam rippers, and a bunch of cheap ones that are super sharp, but I don't even do that. I usually just use razor blades. But seam rippers have that little red ball that you put on the top so you don't ruin your project. I know. I feel like it should go on the bottom, but it goes on the top. At least I have plenty of time to fix. Yes, this is not con crunch. Oh, next week on Tuesday is going to be con crunching of the Princess Leia costume that's sitting ominously behind this costume going, when's it my turn? I thought we weren't finished yet, but we aren't finished yet, but I'm not going to work on that one till next Tuesday. Okay. Take out my pins. I had a pin bag. There we go. Okay. I'm only going to rip out the facing as far down as I need to smush it, because it's the right length and it lines up at the bottom. So, wish me luck. Oh, geez. And I backstitched it, like the whole length of that. It's okay. I got this. Okay. Dan does junk, using most of my time for crafting and doing more gaming videos on the side to help with editing skills. Nice! You know what? Sometimes it's fun to have fun problems like that, because I feel life is always full of problems, and I just need to appreciate the fun ones while I have them. 45th clown, sorry. I watched last week's recording. Did you say you went to a cow convention? No! Not a cow convention. I went to a historic dairy farm, and then I went to Cow Expo, and they have their farm that runs year round, even when the state fair and other events aren't going on, and got a tour of their horticulture center, which was really cool. So I got to tour a historic dairy that is no longer functioning as a dairy, and then also I got to go to Cal Expo, which was really cool. And then this last week I got to do a commercial that I had to build a paper mache volcano for, and that went really well. That fake volcano worked out perfectly, but oh my gosh, did it give me flashbacks of I have a project due tomorrow and it's a big science one. It has to be really cool. And then of course I focus on making it pretty instead of any of the actual science work of writing it into paragraphs and stuff. Can't I just do a diagram? Well, as a production designer, yes, I can just do the visual parts and it's fun. So I got to do that this week, and yeah, it's been kind of a fun week. Can't complain. Oh my gosh. This is not shredding apart, but it's definitely very tedious. Austin Lips. Hey Felicia, I'm at a bowling alley today. I normally miss you because I go to the program called Empowerment. It's community center I go to 5 days a week. So I'm here for now. Nice. Bowling. I have not gone bowling. I don't remember the last time I went bowling. I really don't remember the last time I went bowling. I know I've gone bowling with friends lots of times, but I don't remember. It's been forever and a day. Although I did go roller skating this weekend, and I haven't gone roller skating in, I feel like a decade, but it was fun and I miss doing that. But I did fall and I scraped my knee, and the skates rubbed on my ankle, and so I have sore spots, so I'm going to be feeling that for a week. But bowling, that doesn't don't have to worry about falling as much. Oh nice, Dan does junk. I'll be joining you at the May the 4th convention. Dan does junk. I thought you said Cow Expo. Felt like a cow expo, but it was Cal Expo in their horticulture department. They were reseeding their seasonal garden. It was interesting. Okay. Look at that. See this edge? See how it's... No, you can't see this edge. You can't see how frayed it is. It is such a delicate edge. It's not far gone yet. It's going to be fine. But okay. So why did I get off on this? It looks a little stretched out in this area. So I'm going to go down to a little past where I think I messed up. I'll mark it with a pen and we'll reassess the situation. Normally I would just rip it, but if I do that, it will ruin it, and I just don't have the patience for that today. So what I'm doing so that I'm not ruining it is I have an X-Acto knife with a nice, sharp, fresh blade, and it is nice and pointy, and then I am taking the fabric and pulling it apart so that I see the stitches across right where, instead of keeping them along this way, I open it up so that there's a little flat line, and I just keep picking each one of those stitches out, and I do this nice slow enough it comes out without destroying my fabric. The wool, no issues there whatsoever. It's this synthetic shredded silky lining. I am very glad that this is going to be fully encased, because then I don't really have to stress out about finishing that frayed edge. can go over there. Okay, I'm going to turn on my iron so that when I need it, it will be hot and ready. I'm only going to do it at the number 2 setting because that's for wool, rayon, and polyester. Although I think this is more of an acetate or an acrylic. I think it'll be fine with the heat. If anything, it'll melt it and keep it from shredding more. Maybe hold it together into like one felted piece. No, not really, but I'll do a test section. Ah! "45th clown. A dairy, a volcano. Much more interesting than my week. Dan, what software do you edit in?" Oh, nice. And a skating rink. Jeez. I'm trying to have all the nice stuff, but apparently I can do it. I really can. Yeah. No, last week was really crazy, and I went live just on Tuesday, went live a bunch of times last week. I am, however, going to go live again, not tomorrow, but these little threads. But on Thursday, I have a special guest coming in onto this live stream. My friend Gonzo, or Raul Gonzo, he is going to be coming to help with this cape. He is bringing all the little miniatures and things that are going to go on this cape. So I wanted to get this to the point that we can have the fun part of decorating. I'm not going to like completely encapsulate it yet because I still need to add more structure, and I'll know what structure I need to add once we start trying to put miniatures and things on this. So that's what my goal is for Thursday. Will Connors, welcome. Hello. Hi, Toby. Oh, you guys can't quite see Toby. Oh, he ran over that way. Oh, he bumped into the camera. That was Toby. Austin Lips. Okay, see you with Odin Sunday evening. Got to go now. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Well, thank you, Austin Lips. Yeah, I did not end up going to see Odin on his live stream this last Sunday, but I will be going not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, because we're trying to do every other Sunday on Odin Makes live stream. And yes, but I warned him. I gave him a big heads up that I might not have been able to make it, and I wasn't able to. So nothing like not working on a project to draw it out just a little bit longer. Look at all these shreds. The shreds. I'm trying not to shred it. But I definitely appreciate having a sharp blade. I was worried that I was like, oh no, I don't have a seam ripper. I'm actually being way more cautious with my razor blade than I would be with a seam ripper. And it's probably a much better tool for this specific job. Danda's Junk, you might benefit from a love, Mike Felicia. Yeah, I might. Probably would help. I have one that you plug into your phone, but it doesn't quite work for this setup. Okay. I'm just going to rip this whole piece off. I'm close enough to the bottom as it is. Then I'll just press it all out, and then I'll reline it up and pin it. No, I'm not going to pin it. I'm just going to press it, line it up, and then sew it from the top to the bottom. Yes, my sewing machine is it plugged in? Yes, it is. Okay. Patience. What really sucks is that it takes like 1 or 2 minutes to sew this entire seam, but it takes twice as long, if not longer, because you have to pay attention to each little thing you rip out. So not only does it double your time when you make a mistake, it like quadruples your time because you have to rip it out and then do it all over again. And that is why people often really get frustrated about sewing. It's not the sewing itself, it's the ripping out. Yeah, and ripping out is going to happen no matter how precise and perfect you think you're going to be. It happens to the best of us, and sometimes it's easier to just start over, but we don't always have that luxury with the fabrics. So all right, starting the stream off, undoing progress, but it's no big deal because we're going to learn from our mistakes and hopefully not do it again, and then we're going to smoosh it, and then hopefully it'll all line up the way it's supposed to. That's the goal, at least. When the puzzle pieces fit together, I feel like everything's right in the world because it's like, phew, I did my math right, it lines up, it's gonna work. When it's starting to be off, I feel it. I'm like, no, I'm going to, yeah. So, line this up. This goes to right about. This goes to right about. Rip this out ever so slightly so I can smoosh that. You smoosh it and you smoosh it. It shouldn't be that bad, but I'm trying. Okay. Patience. Okay, my linings are moved from the rest of my cape. Yeah, that lace just flat. It was this piece that was off. Okay, let me... Oh, I need my... All right. Whoops. Looks like a green cape and giving me Robin Hood vibes. Yep, it is a green wool cape. It is completely Robin Hood vibes because that's the green wool that you probably would use to make a Robin Hood costume and or cape. It's a little too grass green for a Tinkerbell costume, however. But I think it would work great for Link from Legend of Zelda. Even though technically I kind of like his more of an olivey green, but I feel like that you could get away with this. Definitely Robin Hood. Men in tights kind of a thing. All right. I think this is the same side that I sewed on backwards, so I was all twirled around when I was trying to do this. Oh, this fabric looks so pretty when it's pressed. Where is... Here's this thing. It is so covered in these little hairs from this lining. The fuzzies. This is my pattern piece, my reference piece that I have been basing everything off of. This is the shape of that over there. So I need everything to line up right here along this line that I drew. And I know there's lines that go here towards the princess seam, and then there's the line that goes to the facing that goes straight down. We're following the facing line that goes straight down. Okay, let's see. This should be like there. And this should be like here. Yep. And then right sides together. Okay, now it all lines up and everything feels right in the world. So one of Danda's Junk says, so one of the large Lego figs that me and Odin are making has a small cape. What fabric would you recommend using, especially for longevity? Because they're specifically Lego figs, I would use a velour, like a velvety, like, so that little red scrap that I pulled out, that I was like, why am I holding on to this little piece? It is a little piece of red velour that I used to make crusty shoes. I used it to make a circle skirt. I used it to make the giant pointy cone bra. It is a fabric that you don't have to finish the edges, so you can just cut it out like the mini figs. It has the deeper color and texture from the fuzziness of the fabric, and it would have the texture of a minifig cape, but it would scale up well. So I would suggest a velour, not necessarily a velvet. Don't do velvet. It wouldn't be crunchy enough. It wouldn't hold its shape. It'd be too drapey. Either that or a vinyl. Depends on what the look is, because Batman, I would probably still do a velour, but he could also do a vinyl. I wouldn't do a real leather because that's not Lego, in my opinion. Oh, it's the Boba Fett figure, so I assumed it's supposed to be something worn and tattered. I would still do that, but do it in like the right shade of green, honestly, because then it would feel like that stamped out plastic fabric. Hi, Bruno. But then I would do the shredded edges and the paint job to make it look more tattered. But I want it still to have that plastic feel, you know, maybe even like cauterize the edges so that it has that I got stamped out at a factory feel. Use a laser cutter to cut it out. I know Odin has one, so it's not a weird thing to do, but it would give it the right cool finished edges. But yes, fun problems. Hi, Bruno. I don't want safety pins. I want the dangerous pins. Oh, I'm just pinning this because I super don't want to have to rip this out and do this again at all. Hi, Bruno. What's wrong? Did Toby eat both bowls of food and didn't leave you any? Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, that's what happened? Oh, that wasn't very nice of him. So Toby's been eating the breakfast bowls, and then Bruno comes and tells on him. It's okay. Bruno always steals all the squeaky toys. Danda's junk. Odin definitely would laser it just as an excuse to use it. I know. As soon as I saw the laser cutter, I'm like, oh, I could make this a 1 yard by 1 yard, and I could cut out fabric with this thing. And I have a laser cut out swimsuit, and I was like, look at this. This is not even... I live in the future. We have this technology. And then I have a laser cutter, and I haven't used it since I've been given it because I'm intimidated. But it's okay. Eventually. But cutting out fabric with a laser cutter just seems like the way we should be cutting the fabric in the future. I do like an electric pair of scissors or rotary tools or whatever those are called. I do appreciate power tools for cutting out fabric. It is a very useful way to go about it, but lasers, come on. But lasers... Yeah. The pattern's super simple, and there's 2 different like cape styles that they have for Legos, and both of them are super simple. I also think it would be fun to do, there was that one Barbie fashion designer game in the 90s where you could print out the clothes onto printable fabric and then cut it out and make your own Barbie fashion designs. I'm like, I have a laser cutter. I can make my size Barbie fashion designs. So that is one of my goals as soon as I figure out my laser cutter. I already have the pattern figured out in my head. So, fun problems. Okay, this now is lined up. And this is where I gotten off because this is into the seam allowance and into the seam allowance right at the neckline. I'm going to start at the top and go all the way down. But geez, I don't want to do this again. My thread fell off the table. I have to go grab it. Okay. All right, just get rid of this tangly piece. Ah! It's worse than spiderwebs. No, it's not. Spiderwebs of spiders. regular stitch length. I'm not increasing it or decreasing it. I'm just doing the regular type. Let's do this. Part of me wants to like zigzag this and make sure I get all of this crazy edges. But I can do that after I sew my straight seam. Big Bob's props. Talking about lasers in the future, and I'm sewing by hand. You know what? Honestly, a needle and thread is a very modern tool. It is not a... How do you get it so tiny with the needle? Anyways, you can get more details. Needle and thread is my go-to because if you can't fit it in the sewing machine or if it's too complicated, you can sew in 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions with a needle and thread. You do not have to go in straight lines and you do not have to have everything be perfect. So you're never going to not need a needle and thread when sewing. But yay, what are you making? Yeah. 45th Clown, that's a very good question. Would lasers burn some fabric or would you just deal with it? Yes, they totally burn some fabric. So, I love textiles. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to textiles. I have a swatch book that has all the different types of fabrics you can get. So I feel like one of these books is very helpful when you are shopping for online fabric so you can feel what you're working with. But what you can know about these is cottons can catch on fire, but they also smolder out, but they burn naturally because like cotton wicks, cotton actually burns. Synthetic fabrics like polyester, nylon, they're going to clop up and gloop up. They're going to melt because they're plastics. Hi, Bruno. Hi, Bruno. And so synthetics are going to get cauterized as you're cutting. Natural fibers, while they can burn, they're going to self-extinguish. So wool it burns very well, but it will self-extinguish. Cotton will self-extinguish. Silk should. It's been a while since I've held a lighter up to all of these fabrics, but there are fabrics that will catch fire. I have caught foam on fire using a laser cutter to cut it out when I was making the Little Mermaid's foam bra. I definitely, the foam looked like toasted marshmallows because of burning it with the laser, but that was also my laser settings and temperatures. But cutting fabric out with a laser cutter, and it's a synthetic, you can cauterize your edges so you don't have frayed, shredded edges. It's like you melted it. Like when you cut a ribbon and then you melt the edge so it doesn't keep fraying, you can do that with a laser cutter when you're cutting out fabric, which is freaking awesome in my opinion. Bruno, I'm almost done. Can I finish this and then you can come up here? What about if you go get a ball? Do you want to go get a ball? Go get a ball. Go get the ball. I'll throw it when you go get it. Go get a ball. Throw it. He's going to go look for a ball. He probably can't find one in this room because I don't know if there is one. But if there is, he'll find it. Dan does junk. We're all nerds, Felicia. Yeah. Look at that. It finished on the end perfectly. It's not off, even by a centimeter. Okay, I feel much better now. Today is going much better now that my mistake is back to where I left it. Let me turn this off. Okay. Now this is the part of sewing that makes everything look professional and amazing. It's the pressing part. It's not ironing, it's just pressing. You smoosh it and you smoosh it. But yeah. Okay. So I'm going to press my seams. I'm starting with pressing them closed first so that they lay straight and flat. Oh, there's so much of these threads. I'm glad they're going to be encapsulated. Most of my seams I'm going to be pressing open, but I'm going to press these ones to the back because there's a density difference between the silky fabric and my wool fabric. So there's 2 layers right here. Normally I would press them open, but this is a shredded layer. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to push all the seam allowance that way. So when it's open, it's all the extras going behind the silky part, not necessarily the wool part. So that little edge of wool right here will protect this edge of frayed. And that's still a straight line. I am going to cut all of these little threads that got stuck in the seam. I don't care that there's threads attached to my project. I just don't want to sew them into my seams. They can just get pulled off. Okay. Oh, it's not that hot at all. I totally touched the iron. When things get pressed, I start to go, ooh, now it's starting to look impressive. I think that's why they call it impressive, because it looks impressive once you pressed it. No, I'm just making shit up now. I freaking love a good wireless iron. Ooh, you know how they have wireless charging for your phone? I wonder if you could get like a wireless charging port for underneath your ironing board and just keep your iron charging. No, I don't think that's technology is in high demand, so. But look how pretty this is. Look at this side, look how nicely, and now how pretty it is. And then look at this side. And look how bumpy and not laying flat it is. It's sewn, it's the same seam and it's the same piece, but it's kind of puffy. And this side right here, it just looks so much straighter and cleaner. So ironing, it makes a huge difference. shop. Whoa, this is the first time I've learned of a wireless iron. Yes, I had a wireless iron, and then I saw a wireless glue gun, and I got super excited about that because I don't like no strings to hold me down. No, just kidding. But I switch left and right-handed when I'm ironing, and I can't always, I get tangled up in the cords. I had a little green one, but I left that at Odin's shop, so my mom's letting me have hers, old one. She has a new one. I don't need to trim them, they're just bothering me. All right, I'm pressing all the seam allowance down towards the lining. Ironing is a step that we all like to think doesn't exist and forget that it happens because it's not exciting to talk about. It's not huge and altering the outcome of the project. Like a seam that holds it together will mean the project's finished versus pressing it. It just will make a night and day difference on how it looks. The difference between professional and homemade usually is the iron. And then also, if you're going to be fighting with it, if you press it first, it's not a fight because the fabric's already laying the way you want it to. So ironing is a huge tool in sewing. So much so that I don't think we talk about it enough. I know we say, oh, press your seams. And then we go off and press our seams, and then we cut back to perfectly pressed seams, but the ironing takes forever and we don't talk about how long. Just sitting there and smooshing it, it really takes. Whoops. Oh, I'm out of coffee. That's sad. Okay, let's see. I ironed my facing seams. See how nice this lays now? It looks all like I meant to do this. Now I have to press my side seams so that those lay flat too. Oh yeah, I never finished the other side shoulder. Let me press these and then I'll sew that. The shoulder seams I have to think about because we have 3 layers. We have the outer layer, we have the interlining, and then I have this lining layer. That means if I have 3 layers, I have 6 layers in my seam allowance. Now, I can press them all open and have them 3 layers high, or I could push them all to one side and then they'd be 6 layers high, but that's going to give you a bulky seam. This shredded fabric, this silky fabric I don't want to press it open because these seams this fabric is very shreddy. I would rather press this to one side, but if I'm pressing this one to one side, it makes me think should I push like either the interlining or the outside fabric, but those are both bulky in comparison to this fabric. This fabric isn't the same bulkiness, so if I press those ones both open and together, I think it'll lay flatter, but I don't want to do that to this lining edge. Maybe if I zigzag the edges and then press them open. No, it's so shreddy, that's not going to help. Okay, so ironing vintage fabric has it's a very distinct smell to it. Kind of reminds me of like an old lady house, but I don't fully know how to explain it, but it's a nostalgic smell, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is vintage fabric. I smell it. It's not like a new fabric doesn't have the same scent. All right. I'm going to press it open. I'm just going to press it open. I think it'll be way less bulky if I press them open. And it doesn't seem to be that bad. We'll see about the shoulders when I start getting into that curve. Kind of sounds like a train with that steam going. So right here, you guys can see where right here it's pressed flat. It's laying flat. Right here's where I stopped. It looks so much nicer once it's ironed. It really does. Things look like they're supposed to, or like they came from the store, because it's the... Okay. I don't want to melt this, but I'm not super worried about melting my fabric or overheating it, because I know there's not more heat being added. I know that my iron is just cooling off. Getting into the shoulder curve now. Knot top, is it just a preference with pressing open or closed? Basically, yes. However you want to finish your seams is purely your preference. Now you're going to have different advantages and different disadvantages depending on how you deal with your seam allowance, because it's like layers of bulk, and whether you push them to this side, to that side. I like, if the seams are sewn together and you can't split them open, I default press them towards the back, or towards, like if it's on my sleeve, I press it like this shoulder seam, I press it towards my arm going through it, because I don't want it to push this way. I know that the upper two layers, if I press them open, it will be the least bulky way to deal with that seam and it all lining up. So pressing it open makes more sense. I'm only a little wary about pressing this one open, just because this is just shreddy fabric, but it is doing fine with being pressed open. It's actually really liking the heat. All right. 2 seconds, let me go grab my ham. I don't have my ham. It's okay. That's not quite the right shape. What is a ham? Ham is a sewing tool that you use to fit these curves. They're usually made out of wool because it's really good for ironing on. They look like a ham from the store in size and shape. Mine should be right there, but I think it fell down and I don't want to dig for it. But since most people don't have a ham, what you can also use is a towel or a cotton blanket rolled up to fit into that curve that you're trying to fit, which is the shoulder curve that I'm trying to do. But honestly, if I just put my curve like this and I press it flat, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Look how pretty that seam is. Can't even see it. It's so smooth and shiny. This seam, however, is not smooth and shiny yet, and you could totally see it. And on this side, look how ugly and unfinished that looks. I don't hate it. It's going to be encapsulated, but then look at this side. It's been pressed. Look how nice it is. Inside, it's just been pressed open. So it's not that you can't sew, it's that you didn't iron it. Oh yeah, I have to sew that seam. You know what, this feels off. Let me just... I want to re-sew this whole seam just so that I know it lines up nicely. This is just the shreddy fabric to the shreddy fabric. It's not even it doesn't even have a wool side to keep it safe. I really just want to rip it, but I can't. Okay, patience. I don't want to rip it out. I really could just get away with not, but I know that if I do, I can reline everything up and just, it will be much prettier and I won't be fighting it. So. I locked the ends, but it's okay. There we go. I really like how comfortable this thing is. It is totally a great seam ripper. I know that's not what X-Acto blades are normally used for, but this is very ergonomic. And when you get a seam ripper, usually if you're spending extra money, you're trying to get a nice good grip, this grip is worth it. I wonder if I could. I probably could. I have a broken seam ripper where I have just the head that ripped out of one of those little plastic bodies. I wonder if I could just open this up and a seam ripper attachment for my hobby knife. That would be fun. And it's not out of the world thinking. Okay. Part of me wanted to just rip this out and fix it and not tell you guys what happened, but then where's the fun in the journey? You guys get to see all the ups and downs, not just the, oh look, I can make something pretty. Nothing bad ever happens. It's just like this. See, it's super easy. I'm not going to gaslight you all like that. No, sewing's not easy. Yes, it is, but not really. What's hard is the puzzle. Putting it together, making sure it fits together. And if it doesn't, it's a little hard. Not hard. Humbling, and you have to take it out. Okay. Please, oh please, let the shoulder be right. Just, I don't want to rip this out again. Okay. Just press it nicely, so take any of the smooshing I just did to it all out of this. Piece. Alright, it's starting to line up. And as junk, I often perform surgery on my foam projects, mostly cutting areas completely off to remove sections of foam because I got the sizing off. I did it to the Voltron helmet. I want to say Voltron because I can't read it because there's emoji in the way. And almost all of my Gundam. Yep. Part of the process. Sometimes it doesn't make it less of a mistake because you spent a really long time making it. Oh, it's actually lining up quite nicely. Phew. Wait. I am in the right spot. Okay. Jeez. I am so anxious about putting this back in wrong and upside down. As I should be because I was putting it in backwards, inside out, and upside down. Ha! All right. What am I doing? This. Goes this way. This piece should go this way. And this should go here. Okay, things are lining up. It feels right in the world right now. Oh, look. It's lining up perfectly. I'm really glad I'm pinning this because I don't want to try and figure this one out on the sewing machine. Danja's Jump says, correcting your mistakes is a great way to further develop and improve your crafting skills. Yes, it is. There is always room for learning. And a lot of times I see people do some funny things. I'm like, ooh, that looks like experience. You've made that mistake before, haven't you? And you don't want to make it again. Yep. I know, I know. Okay. Look at that. It all lines up. It's all pinned up. All right. Starting at my neck, at the top. So many strings everywhere. Okay. Uh-oh. My thread fell underneath the thing. Oh well. Let me put this back down. Okay. Seam sewn. Time for seam to get pressed. Smush, smush, smush. Press the seam open. And then I'm going to put this away for a minute and go work on the other parts of it because those fabrics are nicer at the moment. Oh, I like a good steamy iron. The steam really makes it do its job well. I feel like when I iron, it's when I get the most nostalgic about sewing because your memories are really attached to your scent, and when you iron all the steam, I freaking love the smell of Tide. It is like the best scent ever. So like fabric freshly washed in Tide and then steamed is the best, and so is vintage fabrics. Okay. Curves like this is why I like tiny irons, but this isn't the worst. Smoosh it and you smoosh it and you smoosh it. Now, the seams look nice. Let me just press the inside of it because this is a little wrinkly and the rest looks so pretty. Part of me is a little sad that nobody's going to see this lining, but it's okay. It's allowed to be pretty just for me. Oh, there's my razor blade. All right, when you're pressing, don't stretch out your neckline. Don't pull at your neckline, don't stretch it out. You want everything to line up nicely. So, so nice. I think this is going to be lovely. It'll be the other way, but I like looking at it this way. There's my cow. He's still hanging on there. So remember how I told you there's going to be 6 layers up in the shoulder seams? There is, actually, if you think about it, so there's the fabric, and then there's the seam allowance. So that's 1, 2 layers, 3, 4. Or if you push the seam allowance to one side, it's 1, 2, 3 layers and 1 layer on the other side. So it's 3 layers to this side, 1 layer to the other side. On all the seams. So multiply that by 3. It can get pretty bulky, especially since each fabric has its own thickness to it. I think it's just going to be easy if I press it all open, and then it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 layers instead of trying to deal with, I think it, yeah. I'm going to press them all open and flat, and then I am going to do so I'm only going to have the layers attached at the neckline and not the hem. And I am going to, at the shoulder seam, attach all 3 layers together with a little thread tack so that they all stay lined up where they need to line up. But first, I have to press these. Start with the outside fabric because that one's easy. Michael Schnell, hello, late to the party today. Well, welcome, glad you could make it. H7 Opolo, I speak for the chat with thank you for gracing with your present angelic qualities. Oh, you're so sweet. I can't read today, but thank you. In all reality, sometimes it's hard to go live, and I'm trying just to get into the habit of doing it anyways, and then getting better each time. Okay. Pressing it flat and closed first, and then I am pressing it open. One of the more tedious jobs that I feel like is easier to mentally skip, but if you can't skip it, it looks so much better if you don't. This is a clapper. What it's really good for is making your seams set really flat. So you know how sometimes you'll press them, but then they'll come back up, and then you'll press it again and they'll come back up. And some fabrics, they lay really flat nicely, like this synthetic fabric over here. I melted it into the place and the shape that I needed it to be. Now a wool, it will do what I want, but it takes a little more heat and pressure. A clapper will help with that without burning your hands or your fabric. And yeah, the clapper, I feel like it's the thing that turns on your lights, but it's June Taylor's clapper. This thing's vintage as heck. I love it. No dates on it though. But I definitely feel spoiled using it. Right tools for the job make the job significantly easier. Michael Snell, question. Do you have a recommendation for a good material for a is it a cloak with a hood? Sorry, there's an emoji just blocking right where that word is. Cloak with a hood. This fabric I'm using, it is a wool. It's gorgeous. It's lightweight. You don't have to worry about the seams fraying or on you. And wool will keep you warm even if it's wet. One of the great properties of wool is that it's very insulating, and it, like I said, will keep you warm even if it is soaking wet. So that's a great reason people used wool for cloaks. But honestly, it's what are you trying to do? What colors do you like? What fabrics make you happy? And is it comfortable? Because some people are allergic to wool, or they find it really, really itchy and they will not wear it. This is not an itchy wool to me, but I am also not sensitive to wool. So when you're thinking about picking out your fabric, what is its end purpose? Who's going to be using it? And then is it pretty? So, yes, Dan does junk. Wool is naturally water repellent. It is heat resistant, and it, although can burn, it smolders out, so it's very fire safe. Old firefighter uniforms used to be made out of wool because of its fire safe, its self-extinguishing properties. Wool is by far one of my most favorite fabrics for its properties alone. But I don't often get the privilege of working with it, and I feel very spoiled getting to play in this fabric. I know, it just looks like a felt. What is this fabric? It is easy to work with, and it feels amazing, and I like its drape and its color and blah, 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 blah. It's a great fabric. Geek out on textiles. All right. Oh, wow. Has it really been that long? And I've just been pressing. Okay. I feel like, well, that's what we're going to get done today. So I'm going to finish pressing this, and I'm definitely going live on Thursday. And because I didn't get the collar done that I wanted to get done, I may end up actually going live tomorrow too. But I probably am going to go a little bit earlier than I normally do. Just a little bit, not a ton. Because Wednesdays are a little hard for me. Smoosh it and you smoosh it. But look how pretty the seam is. Look at it. It lays really flat and it looks really pretty. This seam that hasn't been, it's a little poofy. Flat, nice and silky. Poofy. All right, let me press this. Okay. Oh, what goes into a project? A lot of smooshing. Good good thing there's only 2 seams on each of these because they don't have facings. Ah, fuzz. Okay. Okay. Makes the sheep happy, I'm sure. I don't know how happy sheep are about their wool situation, but they have no choice in the matter, and they have to get their hair cut. But yes, I feel like they're pretty happy and comfortable with not catching fire and staying dry in weather, crazy weather. So what, Michael Schnell, so does wool not need an edge seam? This one doesn't. So it's not necessarily wool, it's how it's woven together. Because if it's like a big chunky yarn and it's been hand woven, you probably need to fix those edges and stuff. But you will know when you look at the fabric, you're like, oh, this fabric right here, this edge is a clean edge. I didn't do anything with this edge other than cut it, and it is not even a straight edge. Where this fabric right here, which is my pattern piece and my cheap fabric, look at this. This fabric has all of these strings coming off the edge. This needs an edge finish. It needs to get sewn down, stitched down so that these don't escape. Where this fabric right here, there's nothing getting pulled off. And that's how you know if you really need to finish your edge or not, is based on the fabric's properties. So not necessarily that it's wool, it's the wool and the way it's been woven or knitted, etc. DJ Stumpy, hi, I'm late. Tuning in this afternoon here. Have I missed anything? Oh, I just fixed all my mistakes and now I'm finally getting these things pressed. So not too much. What was the mistake? I got my fabrics off when I got the alignment off when I was sewing them together at the center front lining, not center front, just the facing where it attaches to the lining. I got off, and so everything was just slightly. When I lined up my seams and I sewed it through the sewing machine, I started at the bottom and worked my way to the top. So by the time I got to my shoulder seam, like the fabric had gotten so unaligned that it was no longer lining up in my neckline. So I ripped it out, I lined it up, and I pressed it nicely. And I re-sewed that whole lining piece on, but it was such a fragile piece of lining that I had to take my time and care in ripping it out. I couldn't just rip it. I had to rip each little individual stitch out, which took a minute. But I was able to save the fabric. I didn't end up wasting more fabric. And it now lines up where it needs to, and the neckline's right, and so now all my other layers that have the same shape also line up. Okay. Get this little spot ironed. both sides line up perfectly. It makes me feel much better. All is right with the world. Now this piece, this is my interlining. This is going to give me some structure and support and help me disguise some of that ridges that are going to happen from my boning in my petticoat layer. All right, pressing this open. Now, if this was just going inside of a garment and this would be touching skin, I could not leave this fabric as is. I would have to finish it in some way, but I'm finishing it in some way by encapsulating it in a lining. So that is how I am finishing this seam. Otherwise, I could zigzag the edges, I could pink them, I could fold them over and stitch, I could do all sorts of different fancy seams to make sure that these edges don't fray. But as always, just pressing makes a huge difference. Look at this, where it's pressed, and then where it's not. You can see even in this terrible lighting. Okay, good question, Michael Chanel. So is it better to sew a vertical seam from top to bottom or bottom to top? Top to bottom, in to out. So when I sew my seams, I start at the center down. So I start up here and sew down this way because I want this to line up, and as I get down towards the bottom, if it doesn't line up, I can fix that in the hemline. Same with your sleeve, same with your shoulder seam. So it's easier to, this seam right here, I start at the neckline and sew to the tip of my shoulder and not the shoulder to my tip of the neckline, because I want this to line up more than this would matter, because I could fold that under or I can match it up into my seam. But I always start at the center top and go out. Very good question. I don't realize how long it just takes to rip things out and press them. But it makes it so nice. It really, 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 really does. I'm thinking about fabrics for capes and cloaks, and then I was thinking I have a cape that's a red velvet cape, and I absolutely love that it's a bouncy velvety fabric. You really just got to love your fabric that you're working with. And they serge the seam, the edges for that, and then finish the edges by folding it over, which okay, it's right in that curve. This side seam, look how nice it is. You can't even see the seam until I really point it out to you. This side seam, you could totally see the seam. You can see the difference and you can feel the difference. Where did Bruno end up going? Huh. So this fabric is almost as shreddy as the other fabric. It's just not a spider web shred. It is a full cotton string that comes off. So it doesn't feel as delicate, but it definitely behaves like a woven. This little bit of a curve. It's okay. I got it. Do it on the other side, but this side's being a little trickier. I don't know why. It just is. This is a very good cape pattern. I feel like it would be a great pattern even without that weird circle. I mean cone shape crinoline underneath it. So I want to put, let me turn this off so it doesn't make any more noise. I want to put double welted pockets in this. So I'm going to be putting all 3 layers together and adding double welted pockets. I think that will look really cool. Yes. Okay. All right, I want to leave this one as my, as a separate one because, like I said, Thursday I am having Raul come over onto my live stream and we are going to be placing all the miniatures. We're going to kind of make a game plan of where everything's going to go and how it's going to lay out. And I'm going to draw it on this line, on the lining as like a treasure map of where like all the places and things go, so I can cut out the roads and get those lined up before I sandwich it in between the lining and the outside fabric, and then we will never see my drawing marks on it ever again unless for some reason it bleeds through the fabric, which would be terrible. So I'm going to make sure that I use something that's not going to bleed. Yes, but fun problems. I got everything pressed today. I need to make the collar. That's what I want to do. Hopefully tomorrow, and then Thursday we're going to be placing the miniatures, and then after that I just have to reinforce all my structures and support systems and put welted pockets and, you know, all the rest of the part, the sewing this thing. It's still a journey. It's not, we're not there yet. We're about halfway. Good problems, though. Good fun problems. DJ Stumpy says, do you have a fashion icon? My local museum is showing Vivienne Westwood display, so I'm hoping to go and see if it has a punk, as I am Clash and Pistols fan. Sorry, there's like an emoji that blocks off one word right at the newest comment on my thing, because I have it all lined up funny and I haven't fixed it. But anyways, yes, I have lots of fashion icons, and I went to Jean-Paul Gaultier exhibit in San Francisco quite a few years ago now, with my friend James, the owner of the costume shop, and me and him just spent a whole day eating up eye candy. We were exhausted by the end of the day, but oh my gosh, was it just gorgeous. We got to see the Madonna pointed bras and corsets that she wore, got to see all these great couture gowns. Like, I also got to see this museum exhibit where they recreated famous iconic dresses out of paper. That was just, I ate it all up. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And I just got invited to a museum exhibit that my friend is doing, and I am super excited about that. Like, fashion is my favorite art because it is an interactive art, because there's the designer who created it, but then the person who wears it, it's theirs. As soon as it's on your body, it's yours. I don't care if the photographer took the picture and the picture's theirs. You are the icon that wears it. You know what I mean? You wear your fashion. Fashion says so much and nothing about you. And I love it as an art form. It is my favorite art form as an artist. But good question. All right, now I'm just rumbling on, and I have been going on for long enough. I appreciate that you guys all joined me today. I will see you bright and early tomorrow for a quick stream, and Thursday we will be having a special guest, and I will let you know more about that later. But thanks again for joining me. Bye.